This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors. The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors. Our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs' #1 community resource. Visit excelsiorcitizen.com today.
Hi, Rick. All those in favor? That passes 7-0. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first thing up, entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
First by Troy, second by Kalen. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Next up, recognition, Dr. Bullymore.
If it pleases the board, we would first like to recognize the board. For School Board Appreciation Month, we have certificates for everyone, and then we have a video up here with some kids throughout the district. You're welcome. We want to thank you guys for this free contribution to the community.
Free contribution.
Thought we got paid.
Thank you.
That's sleepless nights, right?
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Oh, that one's mine. Oh, I see one of them. So cute.
Mash, mash.
Aww,
That's
I want a few of those.
First I thought that was me. I was like Ron Campbell. I was like, here's the short, chunky guy. Look at this girl.
That good looking guy, bottom right.
Rick.
Not this guy.
So we just wanted to thank you guys and recognize all that you do for our community, our students, and our staff. So thank you guys a lot for all the time and effort that you put in our community.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right, next up, Classified Employee of the Month.
Me again. If it pleases the board, we would like to recognize 2 classified employees of the month this month. First one from the high school, nominated by Dr. Kristen Everett and a parent, Miss B.J. Johnson. And I would like you to know she was brought to tears several times as we were presenting this to a class. The statement that Dr. Everett submitted, I would like to nominate B.J. Johnson, a paraprofessional at the high school. B.J. consistently goes above and beyond for every student and is an advocate for all. She's incredibly smart and hardworking. Her original career was in nursing, so she's able to help special education students with academic and health needs. Because she has a strong science background, when she is in the science classrooms, it's like having a co-teaching setting. She's always willing to help with students in SLC and in our weekly intervention lab. Additionally, a parent recently had this to say regarding BJ. She's made a huge impact on all 3 of my kids, and I know she has on many more. She's a cheerleader for all kids at ESSD and truly makes a difference. BJ makes a difference at ESHS every single day, and the students and staff are so honored to have her as part of the high school family. Miss BJ Johnson. The second one is actually in attendance tonight. Mr. Lee Jarman from the technology department. Congratulations, Lee.
Thank you.
So we were able to present this at CO. We did some devising and had him come down under false pretenses so we could recognize him. We had an internet outlet. Mr. John Coleman, Technology Director, nominated Lee and had this to say. I'm nominating Lee Jarman for the Classified Employee Recognition Program. Lee is a proven leader in technology department. He goes above and beyond to support Cornerstone and the middle school with all their technology needs. Lee takes pride in the work he does and is always willing to jump in and assist when and wherever needed. Lee was instrumental in getting the 22-23 school year off to a successful start. Being short-staffed most of the summer, Lee took it upon himself to make sure that technology in his buildings, as well as his colleagues, were ready to go for the first day of school. Lee and the technology team were responsible for preparing and distributing over 1,300 Chromebooks to our secondary students. Technology is such an integral part of the classroom today, and the district is fortunate to have someone like Lee who you can count on. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
The Classified Employee of the Month Award is sponsored by the Excelsior Springs Hospital. The Excelsior Springs Hospital proudly supports the students and staff of the school district. Thank you for the hospital.
All right. Next up is our ESHS State Wrestlers, Mr. Joe Grime via Mr.
Eric Marshall.
Eric
I'm
Marshall.
not Joe Grime.
You grew. You got tall.
First, I want to thank the board again for recognizing our kids. They work so hard, and super proud of what our kids accomplished down there. Regardless of how you finish, you always want more, but that's what makes them so great. So first off, I'm just going to introduce our head men's wrestling coach, Cody Beck, and he'll say a little something about the kids and introduce them. Coach Beck?
We had 4 state qualifiers this year. Like Eric said, you always want more, but the beauty of it, all 4 of them are back. The first one standing to my left of me, Hunter Scoma. It's his first time qualifying for the state tournament. He went 1 and 2 in the quarterfinals. He just happened to run into a 3-time state champ. But he had an excellent year. I'm looking forward to what he can do next year. Also, he doesn't know this yet, he was an academic all-state wrestler for us. So taking care of this. Next one, Cooper Collins. Cooper, had an outstanding year. He's a freshman. He was a state champion at 113. And what Coach Tuck said, I confirmed it with him. He is our first freshman boys state champion for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
The next 3 years, Cooper's got. Next one to the left of us, Ryan Markham. Ryan, he had a tough state tournament, but he had an excellent year. You always want more. You want everybody to win every match, but he did excellent things for us. He is also an academic all-state wrestler for us. This is also his second qualifying year. The one on my left, this was his 3rd trip. Micah Danner, by the way. This is his 3rd trip down to the state tournament. 3rd time's a charm. Micah took 4th at districts and ended up taking 4th at the state tournaments, which is huge. Allowing you guys to recognize these 4 young men. We're very proud of them, and I'm proud to be their coach.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, all of you.
Up next, I'm going to introduce our women's head wrestling coach, Coach Schwab.
Appreciate the board for recognizing our wrestling team. This is Veda Burton. She's been with us for 2 years. She came from Polo. 2nd time down the state. Qualified last year, didn't place, but this year placed 6th. Veda's been wrestling for about 11 years now. She's accepted a wrestling position at Simpson College. We'll be moving on next year because she's a senior for us this year, and then also is going to enlist in the National Guard. So very proud of her. Hate to lose her, but just on to better things and move on from there.
All right. Congratulations to all of you guys.
Yes.
And gals. Next up is the MSBA delegate report. Darren.
Welcome to the March edition of the Missouri School Boards Association Board Report. We
See you,
begin with a look at the importance of advocacy on the state level. It's critical that board members and superintendents communicate frequently with state legislators about the impact of proposed legislation on your school.
This is a great video you're missing.
Meeting series got underway on March 1st with the spring virtual meeting. In addition to updates from MSBA President Ray Murphy, MSBA Governmental Relations Director Brant Shields, and MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall, the meeting featured a presentation from New York Times bestselling author Eric Litwin and Dr. Gina Pepin. Together, they co-authored the book The Power of Joyful Reading. They emphasize the power of joyful and immersive learning, and that school board members have a unique opportunity to bring the community together and celebrate the learning that takes place in schools.
How can you let them know that there is joy, even though the scores are reflecting something different? And of course, it's just hearing that, and like we talk about classroom community and making students feel valued, and that inclusiveness and that different perspectives. I think being a board member, you have such amazing power to do that for a staff member that is working.
Yes. As a former teacher, you need advocates, and it's very difficult because joy is often seen as the outcome of success, and what's needed is that joy is not just the outcome of success, joy is the process of success, and that needs to be supported from the top down, as there's going to be a lot of pressure to hammer home certain skills, and I understand that, and we want the kids to have those skills, and we are all for supporting whatever instruction you have, whether it's phonics-based or book-based. The goal of the joyful experiences is to feed that, to support that, but we want to advocate that it will work better if it's joyful and immersive.
Throughout March, MSBA will host live Lunch and Learn virtual advocacy programs every Friday. And make plans now to visit Jefferson City for Advocacy Day and the Student Showcase, held on March 28th at the Capitol. As the legislative session progresses, we will continue to keep you updated through our Legislative Voice newsletter sent to members via email each Friday during the session, through critical issue alerts and periodic webinars. Partisan signed the fiscal year 2023 early supplemental budget bill at the end of February, which includes $20 million to provide school safety grants to Missouri local education agencies. The grant program aims to support physical security upgrades and associated technology in school facilities. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is finalizing the grant details and will share allowable uses and further guidance in the near future. The governor's fiscal year 2024 budget recommendations include an additional $50 million to further support school safety efforts. Visit DESE's website for more information. MSBA's Future Builders Foundation is now accepting applications for the Early Childhood Education Program of the Year Awards. There will be 3 awards for exemplary early childhood education programs based on school district size. Applications will be judged by the Future Builders Board of Directors. The deadline for submitting an application is March 31st. The awards will be presented at the 2023 MSBA Annual Conference in Kansas City. Application information is available on the MSBA website. And last but certainly not least, it's March, which means it's School Board Recognition Month. All of us at MSBA sincerely want to thank each and every one of you for all that you do. Your hard work and dedication to your schools and communities are appreciated, and your commitment to all students does not go unnoticed. So with that, thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in April for the next MSBA Board Report.
Anything further, Darren?
No, sir.
Next up is our visitors forum. We have no visitors, so we move right along to cabinet reports. First up, Dr. Bullymore with business operations.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to share a little bit about what's happening around the district operationally. We'll start with transportation. So again, staffing continues to be an issue. There was a couple times, even last week and this week, that Kim Green, our director, and the dispatcher had to both be driving buses. So as we've talked about in previous months, we're actually meeting, Dr. Thompson and I will be meeting with First Student just to discuss the contractual and fiscal implications if we're to up driver pay. We're losing drivers to smaller districts around us. Even though they're driving less days, they're making more money. So we got to be able to get kids to school. So we're going to talk with them, and they've put together some numbers of what we need to do in order to further increase our applications towards the bus driver program. And we did add one staff bus driver, so I think they're going to get theirs finalized over spring break. So that helps a little bit sometimes with extra trips like sports, but it doesn't really help our regular routes. And then we're hoping the reimbursement of that this year from the state will be up, which will help us in the long run as well. So we're going to meet and talk about that, and that may be something that we come back to you guys in April and May for. So just a heads up on that. Also, Transportation had their Missouri Highway Patrol inspection and their internal audit. So unofficially, they passed both with flying colors. Obviously, the internal audit, they're a little bit more harsh on themselves than the Missouri Highway Patrol is, but they passed both with flying colors. And once we get that official data back, I'll have that, and we'll present that next month as well. We'll see if we can get Kim in here and recognize her for all the hard work she's doing over there. It's not an easy job. So that's transportation. Safety and security later on in the night. I'll have the FEMA Safe Room, Community Room MOU with the city ready to approve. Next steps on that will be working with Chief Maddock at the fire station on creating a standard operating procedure just so we know how to use that. And then we'll have a community open house for anyone around Cornerstone or around Elkhorn that would be interested in using those safe rooms. So that way they know how to appropriately use that, timing, when it's open, when it's closed. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the meeting. And then security updates at ECC. So we put together a financial plan and budgeting for the next several years. We have about 110 cameras throughout the district that are over 10 years old. And so I don't know if anybody's upgraded their phone camera in the last 10 years, but they've changed a lot. So like the new cameras are like 5 to 10 megapixel, so you can actually see kids' faces, where the old ones are 1, and sometimes it looks like ghosts running through. So we put together a plan, and Dr. Thompson's helped with the budget on that, so we can replace those strategically throughout the district with Mr. Kimsey. So we're really excited about those improvements for the safety and security of the district. Moving on to food service, so I put a handout in front of you. Ms. Stephanie Davinsky from Aramark helped put this together. Talks a little bit about the participation. Breakfast participation was up, which is good. We're putting a lot of efforts into that because that's the largest growth opportunity for us. Lunch participation, like I've shared before, we're already 8 or 9% above regional numbers, which is really big. That's like, you know, having 100 times test scores than anyone else. So it's phenomenal that they're doing such a great job. Now we need to increase breakfast participation because we want to be attractive when we go out to bid. Additionally on that, I've worked with some surrounding districts, operations, and superintendents about trying to have some of these, we all go to bid next year. So we've talked about having a meeting with each other and then also sharing some of that information so we can present ourselves as economy of scale discounts. So if we have more districts in one area putting out bids at the same time, they can come back with more competitive numbers for us because we're more attractive, because they can send one truck to multiple places, they can have one director over multiple places. So our hope is by working together, it won't always work that way, we're still going to take the best bid that's best for Excelsior Springs, but we're hoping that will bring more competitive bids to all the areas that are going at the same time. So that's something that we're working on with some of the other districts around us. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then some special programs that are going on. So we're doing a March Madness with all the schools. So really looking forward to how bad Chicken Patty Day is going to beat all of the other servings. But they're going to do that throughout the month, kind of coincides with the NCAA tournament. So that'll be really fun for the kids during lunch and breakfast. And then good news, usually we're coming to you guys to spend money, but we were told last week that we have received a almost $54,000 grant from the food service it is a local supply chain assistant grant from the state. So they'll help us with reimbursement. So we're really excited about that. I'm sure it's already been spent, but we're going to do our best to keep having more money come in, Dr. Feet. So moving on, the next thing I have, several things. Just want to cover the Proposition Lewis that's upcoming. For those of you who don't know, we are attempting to do a levy transfer on April 4th to build a new Lewis. So if you see there, the Pounce is hitting homes. The FAQ flyer, I put 2 of those in front of you guys so you can see that. Those have gone out. We did our March 3rd. We had a meet and greet with the staff all PD day. So we brought them in for breakfast and then spoke with them in the PAC talking about the promises we've already delivered on for all the other schools and how now it's Lewis's turn. And however they're going to vote, just make sure they get out and vote. I think the biggest message that we've continued to share, and I've continued to share at all of our community events, is even, with Proposition A back in 2019, we were all super confident in how it was going to turn out, and we missed that one by 6 votes. So, we just want to urge everyone, however you're going to vote, be sure to get out and vote. Don't be overconfident in what you think the outcome is going to be. You have to get out and make your voice heard. So we're really excited about those opportunities. The Chamber Luncheon tomorrow, I think I sent all of you guys an invite for those who can make it. That will be tomorrow. It's going to be relocated at Pisgah as they're doing some construction on the Montgomery. So we'll be out at Pisgah and we'll share with the business community and the Chamber of Commerce all things Proposition Lewis and get that information out to them. So we're super excited to be able to share that with our business community. We also had an open house at Lewis and Cornerstone. Some of you were able to attend. Thank you for your support. So we were able to share with that community. We had everyone come over to Lewis Elementary, allowed them to tour Lewis Elementary and see the wonderfully but old 70-year-old building and some of the things in it that could be updated. It was kind of amusing. We had a presentation at Lewis that was on about a 3-foot projector and screen, and then we let them know as they transition to Cornerstone that will be on every screen in every hallway in the new building that's wide open. So it was, we got really good feedback on that as far as moving forward, and then many of those people had not seen Cornerstone. They'd heard Cornerstone, but they had not seen it, so we provided them the opportunity. They could drive themselves or ride the bus over so they could see that. So it was a really successful event. We had 50 or 60 people show up. We had several administrators there, so thank you guys for your support there. And then the last thing we have here on the Proposition Lewis is we have some of the questions we've got are about the design. So if you look here, our design team has done a wonderful job of trying to incorporate some of the historic downtown nature into the new Lewis Elementary. So they took the soft, warm tones and wood accents from the elms and have tied that into the new building. As you notice there, where all those wood accents are around the building and off to the left side over there, they're even more. But we took all those from yellow to a wood accent, so it matches the elms. You'll still have the yellow at both the main back and front entrances, but we've really tried to tie that into that downtown neighborhood, and that's something that we've continued to share with the community, so that way they know we're trying to remember the historic nature there. So that's all I have for operations. If you're able to attend at the Chamber Luncheon tomorrow, we would love to see you.
Any questions for Dr. Boone?
Food service, whenever you guys do those bids, are you guys going to have students involved in it?
Yeah, the plan is to do that. I think that was really successful last time. I wasn't in central office, but I was administrator at that time, and I think having representatives from all age groups and from the buildings and administrator and a teacher, I think that was received really well, and then it's them helping us decide what it is that's going to impact them.
Yeah, it's feeding them, so I mean their inputs should be helping out.
I agree 100%, so that's the plan on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe Ben Ruby was also on that committee.
Yes, he was, and he has already graciously volunteered to receive a day's full of free food again.
I got to be on that committee too, and I thought I would never eat again.
So you're in?
I'm in. I am in.
Dr. Bullimore, back to Prop Lewis.
Yeah.
I know when we were there for the meeting, when the open house at Lewis, the design team is really trying to pull in some of the history of Lewis. And I know that's been a concern, like the tiger on the wall, like gym floor, those type of things. And then I recently was in a building that had built a new school, and they had a whole display, like in their hallway was the history of their building. And so speaking with the design team, hopefully we can do something like that too. It would be the history of Lewis, because it's served as a middle school. I went there, so it's really old. And then when it was a middle school, you did too, and Troy. And then it's been used for an elementary school. So hopefully we can incorporate that and honor the tradition in the history of Lewis.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll talk to Patrick with the design team. Some of the things that Ms. Everett was discussing, there's not a lot of things from a 70-year-old building that you want to keep, but a few things that we are going to try to. So the wood floor, the wood gym floor is still in pretty good shape. So the plan is to try and repurpose some of that as some accent in the front, at the front office. If you walk into Cornerstone, how they have that wood piping on the front desk, and then also maybe some shiplap behind there. The big tiger head in there was painted by a local resident. So the plan is to try and save that digitally somehow, and then be able to recreate that either in a painting in one of the hallways or in the office. And then also something that there's been a lot of concern from people that have been fifth graders there are the tiles. So we will do our best to try and preserve those at least digitally. If we can get them off the wall, great, but we put them up there so they would never come off. And I'm afraid they're not going to come off. But we're going to do the best we can with that. So thank you, great point.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Next up, academic services. Dr. Miller is not here. Does anybody have questions on it? Do you want us to go over it? Okay, we good? Mm-hmm. All right, we'll skip that one. Move on to student services. Dr. Gross.
Okay, thank you. I just want to spend a few minutes tonight talking about something that's become a primary focus of the Student Services Department, and that is mental health and well-being. It's something that we spend a lot of time on, and not too long ago it wasn't a primary focus, but we do spend a lot of time, and as you know, a lot of resources on mental health and well-being. So just wanted to dive into it a little bit with you all and let you know what's going on. We, of course, use our panorama survey for students and teachers and staff, and we are getting ready to open the survey window for our students, March 27th through April 7th. Our fall survey, we're super excited about our response rate. As you can see, our target for our response rate is 85%. Of course, we want 100%, but our goal right now is 85%. Because when we began this process, we had about 40%, and we're just kind of doing this in chunks, and we're excited because our fall survey, we had 82.9% of our 3rd through 12th graders participate in the survey. And our measures are self-efficacy and grit, and really what that means with self-efficacy, that is just, students believe that they can accomplish certain things. And then with grit, it's really that push through and being able to do hard things when we don't want to. So those are the things that we're measuring with the goal that, 100% of those kids will be able to articulate their self-efficacy and what they're capable of, be able to share that through those surveys. And then, of course, we take that data and we might, form particular groups for kids to be a part of so that can be supported. So we're getting ready to do that. We're excited about that. What I did for this next slide is, this is a little bit small, so if you're like me and you're getting up there and need your glasses but don't have them with you, I just wanted to put what we have seen so far. The most recent survey is actually what you see to the left. So as you go across, you're going to go to the very first survey that we had. So as you're looking there, the first two columns are our elementaries, and that was the survey in the fall on self-efficacy and grit. And you can see the next two columns over are high school and middle school. And then as you go further over, you can see we also did some surveying on social awareness. This is really when we were coming back off of COVID, so we had that piece in there too, because we just hadn't been in social settings as much, so we had put that piece in there as well. So that was the spring of 22, and then the very far right is the fall of 21. So you can just kind of see how we've gone through things and some things we probably need to focus on as we're looking at those percentages. And just to explain those percentages to you, it really just means the percent of students that responded favorably in that category. So, in some places we have 48 and 49%. We don't want to be at half of our kids responding favorably. So we have some work to do to be able to get those numbers up and for kids to be able to favorably respond when we're talking about self-efficacy and grit. And this isn't super surprising to us coming off of COVID and, just the expectations being a lot different. And now we're getting back in and we're starting to really plow ahead and getting back to normal, whatever exactly that is, right? But we expect to see those numbers begin to increase as, kids have had, another year under their belt of being back in those situations where they really have to push through and really have to think about what they're capable of. So we're looking for some increases there, but just wanted you to know what kind of things that we're getting from the surveying, okay? And then on to the next one. It's also important for us to know, well, how are we doing this work? And this work is all stemming from our Clay County Children's Services Fund, which I talk about a lot to y'all. So I just wanted to update you again. I updated you last month on what our expenditures have been so far. Right now we're at $375,000 roughly that we have spent so far since July 1 on this grant cycle. And we have a lot more to spend, and that's about $150,000 off of where I'd like to be right now. And, you know, just to share with you, the reason that we're in that space is really keeping people is the reason we're in that space. Because what we do with the bulk of that funding is we hire FTEs, you know, that we contract through Tri-County and Synergy and Bright Solutions and some of the MOUs that you've seen come through that you've approved. And it's really hard to keep good people. It's kind of been a revolving door, and that's, you know, that's kind of with everything. You know, you heard Dr. Bullimore talking about bus drivers, and it's the same thing. Every piece that we're looking at, you know, just keeping good people, because we definitely have the kids with the needs, and we have those wait lists, and we're going through those intake processes, and then we just got to have those people to see kids. So we're continuing to work on it, and the Clay County Services Fund board, they do have a board and an executive director, and of course all the school districts in Clay County are participants, so we are collaborating together to figure out how we might be able to alleviate some of that. So that's the space that we're in. Our new grant year, we have the application in and waiting for approval. So I'll definitely be letting you know whenever we get approved for that. I feel confident that we will. Some changes that I made in that grant cycle, or I should say the team made as we met together to decide what are the most important things, is allocating more funds towards PBIS, which is our Positive Behavior Intervention Support. We'll talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. And then one of the pieces that was missing this year that was in our allocation was a vendor and a contract service for our ECC, because we really want to push this down more into our earliest learners, which I've talked about with you all before, and we've had a struggle to meet that MOU that I brought to you guys. So we're going to look at contracting maybe with someone else to make sure we get someone in there to support our early childhood kids. And then the last thing is going on into our PBIS, which I just mentioned. Super excited about this work, and probably will update you, you know, each month, because that is actually a piece of what we said we were going to do with this group. So I'm going to do that each time. But our last meeting was February 28th, and some current work we have going on. Our three main goals revolve around leadership, training, and coaching. Our leadership team is really working on ways to develop a good communication system for all stakeholders to know what's going on with behavior in the district and how we're supporting it, and again tying it to that mental health and well-being. And one of those communication pieces is telling you guys what's going on, so I'm going to try to do that each month. Training, we're in the process of creating the district-wide handbook, establishing an onboarding process so that when we hire new people in our district, and we're not just talking about teachers, we're talking about all staff members, even our secretaries, anybody that is going to be interacting with kids and their behavior, we are going to have an onboarding process with PBIS so that we can support them from the beginning. And then, of course, coaching. As you know, as staff members are working with students and need that support with positive behavior in their classrooms or in their buildings, we are going to have modules and things like that that we can do for people to be able to respond to their needs. So those are the big rocks that we're working on right now with PBIS, and I'll be sure to update you each month so that you know how we're progressing. And that's all for my report. If anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Questions for you? Thank you, Dr. Gross. Appreciate it. Next up, Dr. Tomlinson.
Well, I wanted to go over one of the kind of ongoing themes we've been talking about is finances throughout the year. So I wanted to update our cash flow chart here. If you go to that next slide, there you go. So if you take a look there, this is about exactly what we thought it would be. So January, I should say, was a really good month where our revenues came in higher than what we expected, which was wonderful. We had kind of slowed down spending for quite a while going into the semester break. So we did have a little bit more of a decline there because we went ahead and kind of, now that we saw that we were doing okay, we kind of went ahead and approved some more spending. But I anticipate that to kind of map where that red line is, but stay up above it. And our whole goal is really just to finish, kind of you see those gray, the gray lines where they end up at the end of the year. If we can end up anywhere there or above, we've had an extraordinarily successful year financially. We did receive about $420,000 from the county for railroad utilities this week, so that was a nice boon as far as revenues come in. And we're not going to get a lot of money coming in revenue the rest of the way, so everything from here on out is going to be managing expenditures. That's where going to be all of our focus is on. And then we're going to try to make some determinations, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight on some of the things we're trying to spend the money that we do have back on our staff and for our students moving forward. So we'll talk a little bit about that and some of the open sessions coming up. So if you take a look at the next slide, we're really happy to report that our attendance has really done well this year. Our early childhood center has actually grown quite a bit in the last couple months, and it's starting to hold more steady. So that's one of the better. It's really interesting to see where a high school has over 90% attendance. That's not very common, especially in Missouri. And so we're really proud about how that's going. The whole key to attendance is making it worthwhile for kids to be here and trying to get parents to understand the importance of it. And if we can do those two things, if kids feel valued and they want to come to school, they're more likely to try to push to make sure they're going to be here. So we feel good that's moving in the right direction. We still have a ways to go, to be honest. We're still not there, but we feel like there's a positive trend there. Also, I've had a lot of questions about when the last day of school would be, and everyone's always curious, so I thought I'd at least make it 100% official here. So if you take a look, we've poured through the minutes and the hours and the requirements and what our calendar was. The worst thing you can do is have the last day of school be on a Monday. Yes. There's nothing where you talk about demoralizing for everybody involved. So we wanted to take a look at this. So as it sits right now, it's going to be a Friday, May 19th will be the last day of school. It'll be our typical early release times. We do have some AMI days left in the bank. So we have 4 of them left. So we've got 4 AMI days left. If we had to miss for some late snow or ice issue, we would make it an AMI day if at all humanly possible so that we don't have to move this to a Monday. If we had to have a late start, maybe 2 hours, we might extend this to a full day instead of an early out day. Those are the types of things that we look at. But as of right now, the way it sits, we anticipate the last day of school being Friday, May 19th for an early release. And the last thing I have, which is my same that I've started with from the very beginning, is Proposition Lewis, and I really like to emphasize this. It's a levy transfer. We're moving 70 cents that we're going to collect either way, but instead of putting it into Fund 3, we're just asking that we can put it into Fund 1. We're going to collect the 70 cents no matter what. So whether people approve Prop Lewis or don't approve Prop Lewis, their taxes will be identical. All this does is allow us to use that money to do a lease purchase to afford the building. That's it. So that's what we're asking people to understand, and hopefully they have listened or seen our information we've sent out or come to some of our sessions we've offered, and they'll support the initiative. So
Troy had a post that I didn't realize Missouri you have to ask for,
Yeah, we have to ask for this.
Yeah.
We can't. In a lot of places.
Some other states you don't even have to ask because this is internally,
Yeah, we're just
Correct.
moving money internally.
It's
Here
a
we
board
have
vote.
to.
Yeah.
right.
Just to clarify,
Let's clarify this.
we
Let's
are
get
not asking for any more money.
correct.
We are just taking money that we already have in an account and we're moving it over so we can build a new school.
Correct. So the way it works when you have a levy, what it says is, so in this case we've got $1.31, right, that goes into Fund 3. So of every $100 of assessed valuation, right, we charge $1.3173, and we put that into a Fund 3 that pays off our debt services, and it can only be used for that. You can't use it for anything else. And all we're saying is we want to be able to take 70 cents of that. So instead of Fund 3 going forward, it'll be 61 cents. And then we'll add that 70 cents to Fund 1. So when the money comes in, we just put it in a different account at our own bank. So we're still collecting the same amount of money. We're still putting it in our same bank. The only difference is it's in a different account that we can then spend differently, just by the rules and laws of Missouri.
And to make sure everyone understands, we still have more than enough money to fund all of our debt service.
Correct. All of our fund service is funded. We've actually restructured some of our debt over the past few years, and we've paid some of our debt off so that we are able to do this. Now, what that means down the road, I know some people have asked questions, well, that just means you're going to have to raise taxes later to pay for it. I don't believe so. There's no situation or prognosis that we've seen that would lead us to believe that that would be the case. So, again, we're just moving 70 cents from Fund 3 to Fund 1. We're going to collect it anyway. Just let us put it here so that we have a means to build a new elementary school, and that's what we're asking for voters.
Thank you.
Does that help clarify?
Yeah, I mean, it did. It did. I understand.
Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great question. That's all I have, sir.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving on to discussion items. Number 1, approval of the 23 health insurance renewal. Dr. Tomlinson.
If there's one thing I love, it's health insurance.
Oh, you're so
And you guys think that I'm kidding, but I'm not. Like, I actually geek out over this stuff. This is my thing. So I actually get the opportunity to serve on the board for the MEUHP, and I've done that for over 10 years now. And it's the one opportunity you have really in the state where there's school superintendents making decisions on what staff health care costs are going to be, what the benefits are. It's not the brokers and it's not the insurance companies telling us what we can or can't do. We as school officials decide what we're going to do for our employees, because who knows school employees better than school employees, right? So I take a lot of pride in what we've been able to do with this. The last 2 years we've had a 0% increase, 2 years in a row. The trend is 7% nationally. So to have 2 years of 0% is really phenomenal. This year we had a 1.5% increase as a universal increase for all MEUHP members. We also did not have a good year locally. So we actually moved a step. So what that means is they run a loss ratio. They take the amount of premium that's coming in from Excelsior Springs and the amount of claims that they pay out. And if it's too close or where they're losing money, then we have to raise the rates to cover the costs. So we had and there's reasons we can explain of that, but I won't get into particulars of individuals, but there were a couple instances we don't believe that's going to be a long-term. It was just our year to have some issues. And so I think we're past those now, but we did take a 5% increase for moving a step. So you take the 1.5% increase for universally, a 5% step for us locally, that's a 6.5% raise. Trend nationally is 7%, even if you're perfectly healthy with nothing else going on. Just the rising cost of healthcare is 7% a year. So on our bad year, we're going up 6.5%. You see where I'm going here? So over the last 3 years, we've gone up 6.5% total in 3 years. So that's pretty good. So what I would ask from the board is I would ask for approval to renew our agreement with the MEUHP and continue on with this program. They give us 9 different options of what to pick for plans. And what we've done historically is we try to choose 2 HSAs and 2 PPOs, and we usually go with a low and a high in each to give people with different situations, different families, different opportunities, different budgets to say what do they want to spend on their health insurance, so they have as many choices as possible. And so employees get a choice of 4 that we provide to them. Any questions about health? Because I can talk about this all night.
So moved.
Oh, yeah.
The first by Kalen, do we have a second? Second by Troy. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? And that passes 7-0.
There's do I have to send the dates of it too? Cover that in that too.
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, yes. Well, here's one of the things I'm going to come back for later is because the rates are going up 6.5%, we currently pay $550 a month for health insurance. This is going to put, if an average, let's say the plan they choose is exactly $550, it would now be $585. One of the recommendations I'm working for, the premises I have in our next year's budget, and I'm going to propose to the board, is that we raise our health insurance contribution as a district to $575 and up at $25. It doesn't cover all of it, but it covers the lion's share of it. I think that's better than what most other schools are handling right now. So I don't know if there's any objections to moving in that direction. But that's one of the things we want to plan for when we talk budgeting for next year. There is a cost to it. It costs over $100,000 for us to do that. But I think it's time. We haven't raised it in a number of years. And I think it's able to help keep our employees from having to take more out of their paychecks to cover basic health insurance. Okay? Everybody's kind of nodding. I don't see any. So we're going to work on that. I'll bring that to you for a formal approval.
Well, compared to other districts, like the one I used to work for, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what they did over there was brutal. So that's outstanding. I hope employees who don't maybe have friends in other districts realize that this is a pretty darn good deal that we've got.
It's important too because a lot of people don't realize when you increase the amount of money being contributed to your health insurance, it also increases your retirement numbers and contributions. So it really has multiple benefits for employees. Everybody likes to talk about just, first year teacher salary, but let's be honest, we only have a couple of those in the whole district, right? So 99% of all of our employees benefit from steps like this. So I'll get off my health insurance horse now.
All right, next up, Career Center, Mr. Ruby.
Mr. Flair.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to share some updates and then go over some data that's essential to what we do, and then how a lot of what we are as exist are funded. So we have two kind of main revenue sources that we get. One is through tuition for our students attending from sending schools, and the other one is through grants. And then the two big ones that we get are Perkins, and that's all based on community population. We have zero control over that. That's just based off census data, so that number doesn't change. The other one, the big one we get, is called Base and Performance, and that one is, a lot of that's based on enrollment and performance, obviously. So, and I'm going to go through, the numbers I'm going to share are going to help you kind of understand how that number gets calculated. So there's a big pot that the state has, and based on how your certain career center is performing and how your enrollment is, that is the basis of how much money you get. So first thing, obviously a big one for us is enrollment. So right here I have it broken down by program this year, how many kids we have in our programs. This number that's been pretty steady for the past 3 to 5 years. And hopefully with some different expansion opportunities, we can get that number up to even more students. And you'll see some programs have a little bit lower than others. So for example, our computer class, this was just kind of one of those low years. Every once in a while you have those years where there's just a dip in enrollment numbers. Our fire program, that's our afternoon. You can only have so many kids in it legally, so that's not like it's a low attendance here. That's just how many kids you can accommodate for that program. And then new this year is our teaching professions one. It's at 11. We're going to look to grow that one, but that's a very, very good number for first year. If you talk to a lot of the other career centers, they tell you their first year they had first couple years they had 3 to 4 kids each year. So that's a pretty good number for us. And then attendance, like Dr. Tomlinson talked about, that's obviously a big thing, I think, for anything, but we look at 90% and also 95% and kind of try to get a little bit competitive with the different programs about who has the best percentage. And so that's kind of where they rank as far as the enrollment data goes. If you go down to the next slide, another big thing for us is placement data. So once they leave us, what happens to our graduates? So for us, we need 3 things that help us out with our placements. One, it's employment related to their program, continuing education in their program, or military related. So those are the 3 things that for us, that looks good for us. So here, these are from last year. This is from the 21-22 school year. This is the placement data. This is February is when we submit all this, so this is pretty new. So it goes through, it tells you how many grads from each program, and then the percentage of placement overall for each program. So that's, if you look, again, the overall percent on the next slide, it's at about 67%. A little dip from the previous year, but a pretty significant gain from 2 years ago, I think, which COVID had a big part to play in that. So we're obviously looking for ways to increase that number and get more positive placement. I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. And then obviously there's our sending schools. So all of our sending schools, we're kind of held accountable for that as well too. So it breaks it down by sending school and what their placement percent is, and then the overall there is 67.91%. When we go to set goals, I'd love to have that number up to 80%. You're always going to have the few that complete the program. You're never going to have, obviously ideally 100%, but that's just be very unlikely sometimes for that to happen. So that's placement data. Then the other thing that one of the things we obviously monitor is our industry recognized credentials. So what those are basically, it's like a certification that a kid earns that shows that they have the skill and the aptitude to move into that either workforce or industry. And so in the different programs, you have the opportunity to earn multiple industry recognized credentials. So there's a lot. That's going to be very big too for our MSIP 6 as that starts to play a big factor. So we're going to continue to push our kids to take as many and earn as many of those as possible. So as you can see, so we had a little over 200 kids enrolled last year, and we had 305 IRCs earned. So that's pretty good. So about 1.5 per kid, which is a good clip. So that's a very important for us, is making sure that kind of shows us like, hey, our programs are producing kids that are capable to join that workforce and have the aptitude and skill to do so. And then kind of next steps for us, obviously a big thing for us is recruitment. So we just closed our enrollment application process a couple weeks ago, and we had over 300 applicants for our programs, so which is good. So I think it was right around like 350. So we have about 220 spots. So there's some programs that, it's competitive, so we talk with kids, and we have shadow visits come, and I see middle school kids, I'm telling you, I tell them all the time, I'm like, hey, just because you want to do this doesn't mean you get to. So kind of earn your way there. And so with that, recruitment-wise, do a lot of shadow visits. We've had kids from pretty much all of our Sydney schools come, and that ranges from our middle schoolers all the way to our high schoolers. One of the things that we require is that kids do come for a shadow visit before we accept them into programs, so that way they kind of get an idea that they know what they're getting themselves into, and make sure it's going to be a good fit for them. Marketing, we're always looking for ways to market our programs and get the word out about all the great things that are happening. Program improvement, our organization that our kids are in that are it's building wide, is Skills USA. So this allows our kids a lot of different opportunities to compete, a lot of networking opportunities, leadership opportunities, and the main thing too is a lot of scholarship opportunities as well too. And we're always looking for grant opportunities, and then obviously to kind of help our instructors out, because a lot of them aren't coming from teacher prep programs, they're coming from industry. So we're always looking for PD for teachers, so that kind of helps them when they join us or when they're with us, they can obviously improve just like any teacher would. Partnerships, we're always looking for partnerships. I think that's really picked up here in the last year just because of everything opening back up. And that's big for us in a number of ways. For one, it allows our kids to possibly do internships. Another one is it allows them to go kind of do shadow visits so they can kind of see what is out there in the industry and what they can expect. And then for us, for our instructors as well, allows them to invite them to be on our advisory boards, which is very key because our teachers are now with us and they're not out in industry. So it's good to get that voice from industry about, hey, this is the industry standard now. This is what we expect. This is what we're seeing. And this is how you can help us out. So it's a good all the way around. And then expansion, we're always looking for ways to expand, and whether that be program expansion, then also exploring, with some of the new things coming from Jeff City about who can enroll and can't enroll. I'm looking for that homeschool enrollment, possibly, if that's something we can take advantage of as well too. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is our Skills USA. Again, that's our that next slide. That's our building-wide student organization. They've been using Skills USA for a while. This is the first year we went completely all building-wide with it, and we're seeing some great things come of that. Our state competition is in 2 weeks, and we have over 35 kids competing at our state competition, which is up from about 12 last year. So I think it's kind of started off a little slowly, but I think as our kids got to go to these different district-wide competitions, the word started to kind of spread and got to see all the opportunities and the networking that happened. So our program sponsors for that, Mr. McBee's one of them, Miss Ballinger and Mr. Goldsmith all deserve congratulations for helping that program really flourish and get it to where it's at today. And it's just like, again, another great opportunity for our kids. There's a familiar kid up there, I think, for somebody. But that, again, those are just great opportunities for our kids. I wanted to end tonight. I have asked a couple of students to come speak, kind of share their experience with the programs they've done, and they're both Excelsior Springs kids, and they're Career Center kids. So Andrew and JB, if you want to come up. I told them you guys would be nice. So.
Shouldn't have invited Andrew then.
Yeah. My name is Andrew Diornellis. I am from the Excelsior Springs High School. coming into high school, I didn't really know what I was going to do whenever I moved on. I watched my brother during my freshman year graduate, go to college. I got to see his struggle after, during coronavirus, he lost his senior season in track and all that. So it was a very sad time in our lives, and we didn't know what was going to happen. However, he found his way to college, he persevered through, and he showed me that there is things after high school. And in doing so, he showed me I didn't want to take that path. I didn't see that future for myself, going to school another 4 or 5 years just to see myself doing something that I didn't really love. I enjoyed working on the farm, I enjoyed working with my hands, so the Career Center gave me a great opportunity to go out, learn something that I love, and begin working towards my life. So in the past 2 years, I joined Skills USA with my teacher, Justin McBee. Great mentor, by the way, great teacher, all-around great guy. He allowed me to show my skills to people and see what I could do under a different circumstance and pressure through the ability of Skills USA. I did sheet metal for the competition. I'm in the HVAC program. I probably should have said that before. But yeah, it showed me that I can do that. And once I showed to myself, I began to get this confidence and be like, I can go get a job in this field and I feel I can be successful. Well, once I showed that I knew what I could do, I began getting little jobs here and there, helping people out with what they needed done. My brother's in the HVAC field. He showed me how great it can be and how much of a good experience I could have with him to go into the field. So coming into my senior year, I knew that we'd have great opportunities, and they actually set up a mock interview with us with Summit Heating and Cooling. They allowed us to go in, talk to the install manager, and he interviewed us, and he actually ended up offering me a job there. So I've been working there for the past 2 months, and it's been amazing. I've shown what I've known. You can see people come in with 0 experience, and you're career ready. Like, you feel like you can be out there. You're still in school, of course, and that's more important than anything, is getting through your schooling. But with the ability to go half a day and then go to work and come to the Career Center on a Friday, it's exponentially amazing to us. I don't have the right word. Oh, they did happen to give me a company truck and company gas card. They paid for all my travels.
I've seen you around town.
Yeah,
that's awesome. It's like
great
driving around town with an emblem on the side of your truck, you know.
Yeah,
Be a little bit safer.
It's not that bad of a deal. And the great part is that somebody that you all may know, Dr. Everett's husband, also works for Summit Heating and Cooling, so he drives around with the same logo. I think if he can handle it, I can handle it.
I thought it was him that.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
With the Career Center, just even when my life got tough, they gave me an ability to learn. I can keep persevering. I know what I know, and I can show what I know to people. And with that, I'll hand it over.
Hello. I first heard about the Career Center when I was in 7th grade. And I want to say that it was McBee's class that walked into the gym, and they were welding pipes for HVAC. And I knew that that was something that I would want to do. Now, I didn't go into his class. I'm in the electrical program. And, well, I love it there. It's probably made my high school experience 10 times better. I love working there. They let me go to Clayco Electric. And they've really helped me get to where I'm comfortable with my future. I now have 2 options. I can either continue going to Clayco Electric, but I've also been accepted into the linesman program. So haven't really figured out if I want to stay there or be a linesman or not, but got to go on several great field trips. That's how I figured out that I was interested in being a lineman. I've seen a lot of great stuff. I love all of my classmates. They're great people. And McBee, where'd he go? Anyway, McBee and Goldsmith have been really good to me.
He's mad you didn't go to his class.
Yeah. I'm very mad. But, yeah, really happy that I have the Career Center as an option.
So
Congrats,
with
guys.
working there, do you just get the truck and the gas card, or do you get a paycheck too?
You get a paycheck.
Oh, well, it's a triple win. I mean, come on.
They buy all your tools. You will pay the back later, but that also allows you, whenever you get done, you have all your tools, you have everything. You can even start your own business in 4 or 5 years with this company. They buy your tools.
You should have went to HVAC school.
JB, you want to share with them about how much a lineman makes after school?
A lot. I think starting is 82,000. I think. Varies. Varies.
Then you run the storm circuit and.
Oh yeah.
I think it's great seeing you guys. I went through this program when I came through Excelsior with Barnes and carpentry, and I was just like you guys. College was never for me. It was never. I just never saw myself there, and I was the same way. So keep it up, guys.
Yep. Thank you guys very much. All right, next up is the approval of the memorandum of understanding with the City of Excelsior Springs for the FEMA Safe Room.
Me again, that pleases the board. Recommend this for your approval. This is the memo of understanding between the city and the school district for the appropriate use of current and, fingers crossed, maybe future community FEMA safe rooms during school and non-school hours. Obviously during school hours, it is not for use of the community. That is for use for school students and personnel. And that'll be in the MOU as well. During non-school hours, this MOU lays out roles and responsibilities of both the Excelsior Springs City and the school district. Essentially, when we need to use it, under certain circumstances, the city will contact Jeff Kimsey, our Director of Safety and Security, to let them know that they're opening it. And then once they need to leave or they're obligated to go, if they need to go serve, then it is the school district's responsibility to then help clear out and clean and then lock up the safe room. So that way, the city approved their side of the MOU. They met last week. We're going to approve our sides. With your approval, then we'll get together, get those signed, and then we'll work on the next steps would be a standard operating procedure. And that's just our internal manual of how we do things. And then if we need to get together and put together a first aid kit or any supplies that they would need if they were in there. But that's something that Chief Maddock and myself and Jeff Kinsey will work on, is that manual. But this is just the agreement between the city and the school district, the roles and responsibilities of each of those parties if those safe rooms are going to need to be used.
Is that going to affect Elkhorn, or is there going to be a separate MOU with Ray County?
No, we probably need to talk with Ray County on that and do that with them. So that's a good point. But the standard operating procedure would be very similar. There would be some site-specific differences. The city reached out specifically wanting to get this done, and so did we before storm season, which is why we worked really hard on this. What we'll do is we can just flip this and just change the wording on it and then get a reapproval with Ray County.
Okay. But are they going to be able to use Elkhorn to Excelsior Springs, or
they should be able to? Yeah, it would, this covers the Excelsior Springs city, so us getting it open. So yeah, we'll be able to use that, and just like it's able to use now. We just want to get an agreement with them too, moving forward. So it'd be a
but Excelsior Fire won't go out and open Elkhorn.
Right. Yeah.
It'll just until Ray County steps up.
Right.
Ray County would
That's
have
what
to
I wanted to understand.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
far.
that would
Well,
be
they
a
only have two
communication
guys.
with us reaching out to Ray County.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of people that are close enough to get there for the storm.
Yeah.
It'll be hard.
So entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
First by Rick, second by Troy. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Last item on the agenda is approval of the 23-24 District Career Ladder Plan. Dr. Bullock.
Me again. So Career Ladder, we're very excited about. So the purpose of the Career Ladder, the District Career Ladder Plan, is to provide enhanced educational experience for the district students through the recognition and rewarding of teachers being productive and effective teachers and educators going above and beyond. So the key to this is anything that they're doing that impacts student learning or student achievement or enhances the educational opportunity outside of contract hours. So that's kind of the important thing to remember there. I'll go through some of the highlights here, but the important thing to remember is they're not double dipping on this. This does replace many of the committees that we already have. There's some committees that we'll keep because those are funded through a different avenue, through professional development, which we need to keep anyways, and we'll talk about the differences there. But really the big thing is here, we're going to be able to use some of those funds that we were already spending anyways to help cover some of the costs on this. So the career ladder, there are 3 eligible stages, 1, 2, and 3, with the hours that are increasing with those stages, as well as the maximum dollars of compensation. The way that's set up, general requirements for each stage are years of service, so either 2 for stage 1, 3 years of service in stage 2, or 5 years of service or more for stage 3. There's no minimum requirement of how long you've been in the district or not. You must be a regular full-time contract and have appropriate certification in that area where you're teaching. The teacher has to achieve a mean NE score, which NE is the educator effectiveness. It's how we evaluate our teachers. So they must achieve a mean average score of 2.5 on those performance indicators, and then also they have to have prepared and gotten approved a district career ladder plan for them. And it doesn't say exactly how they're going to spend each hour. It's just a general plan that says these are some activities that I'm going to do, these are approximate hours, and then they will meet with their principal in the beginning of the year during evaluation, professional improvement plan meetings that they already have to get those approved. And really the key to that is we want our building principals to know what's going on in their building. So if they see students in need or a group of students or have an idea of something creative they can do to enhance the educational experience, they can say, hey, I know these 4th grade teachers are doing this or these 2nd grade teachers are doing this. So many of these things will be things that our teachers are already doing. Now we're going to be able to reimburse them at a higher rate. So we're really excited about that. The Career Ladder Committee will be comprised of 2 members at each building, and those members are able to use those hours towards their own career ladder. So we're excited about that, and that's not going to be an additional cost to the district. And those 2 representatives will serve 2-year terms, and then their building will re-elect new people. Examples of hours that can be used: serving as a mentor or cooperating teacher, assisting students with post-secondary education like ACT or the SAT. So if we're doing a prep class, we can reimburse the teacher for those hours that way. If we're doing direct student contact, which would be like tutoring. Indirect student contact would be like literacy night, which we just held at the elementary school. So those would be hours that teachers can be reimbursed, that they're already there for. Now we're going to find a way to reimburse them for the things that they're doing. Non-approved examples would be anything that's part of the educator's contracted day, so anything that's already happening during time that they're getting paid for, they cannot use those hours. Intramurals are something that we can use it for. If it's something that a teacher's already getting a contract for, like a coaching position, they cannot claim those hours. So again, it's very specific on things that they're not already being reimbursed for. The career ladder year, so and this is many of these sidelines, we built this based on the DESE requirements. So the career ladder year will start July 1, and then we'll go through May 31st, and we'll have a process for collecting those applications, approving those hours, making sure we document that. We'll work with the legal team to make sure we have an appropriate contract for all the employees on those. And June's kind of your dead month. And so that'll be something where I know Dr. Miller's working on putting together some professional development for teachers in late July before we come back. They'll be able to use these hours for those types of activities. So we're excited about that. Total cost, so the estimated total cost of the career ladder as presented would be about $900,000. Estimated DESE reimbursement would be 40% of that, which is about $360,000. And we'll get to that in a second. Estimated committee savings. So right now we have about $48,000 that we spend on different committees. We're going to be able to absorb that and put that towards this career ladder, because then they'll be able to use those hours, and they're going to be reimbursed at a higher rate. So, you know, what they were getting on those stipends per hour isn't going to be near what they're going to be able to get here through the career ladder. So we're excited about that. It's all about teacher recruitment and specifically retention. Are we able to reimburse these teachers that are already doing great things for our Tiger students and keep them around? Estimated tutoring savings. So we budget about $22,000 for after-school tutoring. These will be the same hours. They'll be reimbursed at a higher rate for tutoring, and we'll be able to work that into career ladder as well. So we're able to take that off the final bill. So the total estimated cost of the district would be about $470,000. The key there is this grant is subject to annual appropriations, which do not happen until June. So much like Prop Lewis, we're doing a lot of work here. We're going to hurry up and we're going to get it approved, and hopefully the state appropriates it. If they don't, Then we're going to have to come back to you guys. We're going to have to take a hard look at, is that the correct way to use our $470,000? Or is there another way that we could benefit the teachers, whether that's through salary scale or offering a different stage? But our hope is they continue to appropriate the funds at least for another year the way they have, so that way we can use the district career ladder fund or plan as presented. So we created this using the DESE standards of the career ladder and their expectations. We used the professional development committee as well as Dr. Comstock and Dr. Kaufman. Dr. Kaufman has experience with the career ladder plans, so it was nice having him there. And Dr. Comstock, as an elementary administrator, got their feedback, changes they'd like to see. And then we met with the principals as well to advise them on what was happening, get their feedback on how this could best enhance student learning in their buildings. And what we came up with is the plan that you see there. Go ahead.
Will this also enhance their retirement, towards retirement? Is this counted towards their retirement too?
I believe that it would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, they'll have to take retirement out of there. So yeah. So again, if appropriations are not made as anticipated, we would have to come back with a different plan. We hope that it is. So I recommend approval of this district career ladder plan as outlined.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jill was the second. Who was it? Darren? Okay. Darren was first. Jill was second. Any questions for Dr. Bullimore? Comments? All right. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. First by Troy.
Second.
Second by Rick. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.